Hey everybody, welcome to TIW Podcast. I'm Eric and today I'm talking about the new comics that I picked up on March 18th, 2020. Um, my goal this year, and finally I'm achieving it this month, has been to read all of the new comics that I pick up. Um, and so far that has meant kind of skipping ahead on some of the titles. But this week, I took the time to catch up on a lot of these. And it was so it's kind of a double-edged sword there that I wanted to be able to talk more in depth about all of these books, but because I spent so much time reading a lot of back issues, especially for Middle West, I'll get to that. That's the most recent thing that I read. It was the last thing that I finished reading, so I'll be able to talk about that a lot. But because for some of these, I read like three, four other issues, and in the case of Middle West, 13 or 12 other issues before reading this week's release. It's going to make some of these a little bit hard to remember anyway. But anyway, so I'm just going to get right into it. For all the Archie stuff, I actually read a lot of Archie this week. I didn't need to catch up for Archie and Katie Keene. Because I had already been reading since number one of three. And if you're listening to the audio version of this show, go to youtube.com/todayiwatched and check out the video feed so you can see all the covers and everything that I'm talking about. But if you're tuning in live or watching a replay on YouTube, thanks for tuning in here. All right. So anyway, so I knew it was going on here, but I had not read Archie and Sabrina, which is the previous 5 issues, because the overall issue number is 712. Archie and Sabrina was 706 through 709, I think. No, let's see. 705 through 709, because it's 5 issues. So I went back and read that so that I knew all the connecting parts. I really liked it. It had a lot of flashbacks, like to the beginning of the summer. Like one of the issues was entirely about the beginning of the summer, and I liked how it all connected everything to what is going on with Archie and Sabrina. So anyway, Archie and Katie Keene, I don't remember exactly what happened in here because I also read Archie 1955, which is basically it takes place in 1955, but Archie is it's basically the story of Elvis Presley, but with Archie in that role. So that was a really cool. I think it was 5 parts, and then Archie: The Married Life 10th Anniversary was in 6 parts, but each issue was 2 stories. You had one story with Archie where Archie had married Veronica and it's the 10th anniversary, and then the other half of the book, the second half of each book, was Archie having married Betty. So that was really interesting, and I don't want to spoil very much. I mean, because it is alternate timeline stuff that is actually that comes into play of the story of the stories of both of them, and I thought that was really cool. I like all that kind of stuff anyway, but the weirdest thing about Archie: The Married Life 10th Anniversary is that, and I think maybe it might have been a mistake in one of the issues because then that character is referred to as something else, but Archie and Veronica's son is named Andrew. They talk about him being called Andrew. But then in the last issue, they call him Freddie, which is Archie's son, Archie and Betty's son's name in the Archie and Betty timeline. So I'm not sure if it was a mistake that he was supposed to be called Freddie in both timelines, named after Archie's dad, of course, or if he actually was meant to be called Andrew, which would mean that his name is Andrew Andrews, which is that's a dumb name. So Archie and Betty's timeline is way better because their son doesn't have a stupid name. There you go. All right, so up next we had Deceased Unkillables, number 2 of 3. I hadn't read number 1 yet. I'm showing the main cover here first, which is awesome on its own. And of course, we have my favorite version of Batgirl on this cover, so I'm a bit partial to this cover. But my favorite version of Batgirl is Orphan, Cassandra Cain. But anyway, this I hadn't read number 1 yet, so I went back and read number 1. This is so awesome. I like this more than the regular Deceased series. I have to go back and read it at some point because it's been a little while since I read that anyway. But oh man, it's so cool. But it is also really weird to read this story about an anti-life equation and a virus that's spreading over everywhere with everything that's going on right now. But it was still really cool, and it's awesome to see all of these. This basically is the villains are forming together to survive. I'm really looking forward to number 3. But this here we have the Full Metal Jacket version of the cover, Reborn to Kill. That's awesome. In Gotham, the wind doesn't blow; it sucks. And then we have the other variant cover with Cheetah there with the infection with the virus, just tearing her own face apart. That's pretty terrifying. Then we have, speaking of monsters on an island, because they all go to an island on that. We have Deadpool, King of Monsters, number 4. We have him fighting. Is it Kraven the Hunter? Yes, Kraven the Hunter is in this book. So reading these two back to back had me wondering, maybe I had these characters mixed up, because Vandal Savage and Kraven the Hunter have some similarities. I know Vandal Savage has been around for a really, really long time. I don't know if Kraven Hunter is also that. I think maybe I was thinking that Kraven Hunter had that same. Kraven the Hunter still had that same type of backstory that's been around a really long time. But anyway, this is the son of Kraven the Hunter. Anyway, this book is really fun. This mostly concludes this story of the first 3 issues, but then keeps it moving forward to the next stuff. And I like the last page of it is really nice, and it's kind of a little Easter egg. Not really an Easter egg because it's not hidden. It's the full last page, but a nice homage to another book that has ended recently. But I don't want to spoil that. You'll just have to go check it out. All right, next we have The Return of Die 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 by Robert Kirkman and Scott Gimple, with the artists Chris Burham and Nathan Fairbairn. I didn't know that this was coming back already. I don't really look at what's coming up the next week, other than the couple of weeks that I did that on the show, and then I just ended up like talking about saying the same stuff about the things that I talked about the week before. So I'm not going to do that aspect of it anymore. But yeah, this issue is pretty nuts. I didn't exactly remember what had happened by the end of issue 6 because there's a lot of things going on, but it gave some good recaps of what you basically need to know to understand what's going on in this issue. I should have pulled up my so I've been doing the 1,000 comic challenge, hashtag 1,000 comic challenge, and also hashtag 1000 comic challenge, with my local comic book shop, Hall of Justice Comics, HOJ Comics on Twitter and Instagram. and I got, with having caught up on everything so that I could read all the way up through catching up with all of Middle West since I started participating in it. I've read 77 books, and I'm really impressed with myself, I guess, proud of myself for that, and also getting reading everything from this week. Also, even though it took me until the end of the night on Sunday to do it, I probably could have done. I mean, if I didn't have so many other books to catch up on, to be able to read everything, I would have gotten that done a lot sooner. But anyhow, Fantastic Four. Up next we have. Oh, let me take a quick moment to talk about The Walking Dead, the TV show. So episode 13, season 10, episode 13 just happened, and I'm getting some messages here real quick. So I need to, just in case something crazy is going on. Okay. It was a mistaken group text meant to be an individual text. Anyway, so episode 13, I think it's called What We Become, of season 10 of The Walking Dead is so crazy and awesome, and I really liked it. Last week's episode 12, was my favorite episode of the series so far, but this week's episode was like this really cool, like, what if it wasn't, the whole episode wasn't a what if, but a good portion of it was like a what if scenario, and the way that functioned within the episode, like how we got there, was really clever, I thought. And yeah, just the whole episode is really, really cool. So go check that out, but don't check it out just by itself. Like, watch this whole season. If you can't watch all of season 9 also, because season 9 and season 10 have been really good. So there you go. Episode 13 of season 10 of The Walking Dead. Really cool, really weird, crazy, awesome. Check it out. Okay, onward to Fantastic Four number 20. We have a whole situation. Oh, okay, I do remember what happened in this one, even though it was one of the first ones that I read for this week. So I'd say this is one of my favorite books from this week. But so Fantastic Four, they come back from all the stuff that they're doing. I don't know what they were doing, because I don't think the last one that I read was like issue number 12 or something. So I skipped a little bit. But Johnny Storms has a soulmate named Skye. I forget what that's her superhero name. I don't remember what her real name is, but she's from another planet, and she has wings, and she can fly and all that kind of thing. And she can talk to birds. And so they come back, and you can see on the cover here that there's Skye there on the lower right, and we've got Johnny Storm, and then his best friend. I forget what his best friend is called, but is Mole Man. There's a whole situation with Mole Man, and it all like ties together with the specific situation that Johnny Storm and Skye are in, basically. And it was really cool. I liked it a lot. Not knowing that character at all. Like, Skye is really cool, and I hope that she's a big part. I mean, she's got to be a big part. She came home with him, and they thought, I think they were hoping that they would like break up or something, but they're like even closer now or some. I don't remember that aspect of it exactly, but I did really like this book, and I should pull up what all of my ratings were. Let's see. So twitter.com/jkire. If you go there, you can see all of my my comic reading tweets, and I'm just going to scroll down. I didn't necessarily read these in alphabetical order, but I sort of did. I jumped around a lot, especially when I went off to read all of the Archie comics. Let's see. Fantastic Four. I just said Skye is awesome. I get 4 out of 5 stars. Die Die Die. I said I don't think I can talk about any of this book in family friendly terms. 4 out of 5. 4 out of 5 stars. Mostly gave everything 4 out of 5 stars, but there's a couple that I gave 4.5. Um, let's see, what did I give 4.5 stars? Plunge #2, I gave 4.5 star or 9 stars out of 10. Deceased Unkillables, I said this is great. Stay indoors, wash your hands, be nice, is what I said. Um, Basically what I had said already. But anyway, yeah, I think Deceased Unkillables is my favorite book of this week overall. But Fantastic Four was up there for sure. I really liked all this stuff with Sky. I also really, really liked Spider-Woman. I gave that a 9 out of 10 as well. But anyway, Justice League #43. What did I say in my tweet about it? So you can see it right here. I got the variant cover. And I did intend to mention all of the the writers' names, artist names, and all of that, but I just got overwhelmed with how many of the books that I read this week. But let me see what I wrote about Justice League over here. Oh yeah, so there's a space battle at the beginning of this issue that I really liked a lot. I think it was at the beginning of this issue. There's a couple of books that I've read recently that have like lots of action at the front. Over the ropes is another one like that, where a lot of the action was like at one part of the book, and then the rest maybe wasn't as interesting. I don't remember exactly what happened in this book, but I remember that I liked the space battle that was going on with them fighting all of the Supermen that what is his name, the dude that's trying to take everybody's powers, and then he like dismisses anybody that's human because like this doesn't help me, whatever. But yeah, they're fighting like off on another planet because he tricked them. Flash tricked them into going into the Speed Force portal thing, and so they're away on a different planet. And Green Lantern is kind of taking the lead on this one, and with all the space strategery. But yeah, I definitely need to go back to read. I read #42, where they were still on Earth, and then they ended up here in this issue. But I think this wrapped up that story arc, if I remember correctly. But yeah, cool stuff. Then we have the Lolo Woods #4. This variant cover is by Jenny Frison, is awesome, and she's done all of the variant covers for this book so far. I did go back. I hadn't read any of the Lolo Woods yet, so I went back and I read issues 1 all the way up to issue 4. I believe it's going to be a 6-part series, but yeah, this is really cool. About a couple of best friends who bonded at first because they had both been kind of lost in the woods, and like this bad thing happened and they got away and all that, and there's all kinds of mystical stuff going on. They live in a coal town, so there's all kinds of like that local coal town kind of lore and history, and with like fissures opening up. I don't know if this part of it is very common in coal towns, but like fissures in the earth opening up, and like it being a real problem with like the carbon monoxide and all the different gases and how hot it is, all that kind of like the heat of the earth and everything. But there's supernatural stuff like this creepy deer lady that first appears in the first issue, and then there's also these like skinless creatures that are they kind of remind me of the Titans in Attack on Titan, but they're not gigantic. They're just the size of regular people. And then there's all kinds of crazy stuff going on with this. And there's a witch in the town that they go to for help, and it's awesome. So go check this out. What did I write for it on Twitter? Write about it on Twitter. I read Lucifer first, and then went back and read Lolo Woods. So, let's see. Oh, I need to open up this whole thread. Okay, Lola Woods number 1. Oh yeah, I read it like 3 a.m. I didn't think that was probably wasn't a good idea. Issue number 2. There wasn't as much supernatural stuff in that issue, but there's a lot of like real life scary stuff, like with their backstories and everything. Number 3 is it? Octavia. So one of the girls, she has a pet rat, and that rat only appears in this issue so far, but that made me really happy to see that she had a pet rat, and I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars, or 9 out of 10. And then issue number 4, things just have gone nuts, and it seemed like the threat was only in the woods, but there's like apparently no escape from it as long as you're in that town or whatever. So yeah, really cool stuff going on in that book. Let's see. Then Lucifer up next. We have Lucifer number 18. I think the last issue I read was maybe like number 3. So I did not catch up on this one. I just jumped right into here, but this was a really cool issue to jump in on because it's about the wild hunt with Odin leading the charge to hunt this one god, and it's something that they do all the time, so that like releases the bad energy or something. I don't remember the specifics of why they hunt this specific god or whatever, but Lucifer is with that god who they thought was dead, but is actually still alive. And every time they hunt it and kill it, that god comes back so that they can hunt it and kill it again, etc., etc. So yeah, this issue is really cool. I don't know how it fits in with what was happening right before this, but I didn't feel like I was missing context of it. It felt like a pretty standalone issue, as far as it making sense to itself. Okay, so I have a whole bunch more to talk about, but I'm going to get real in depth. Not really in depth. I don't want to spoil very much. You know what? Just go read Middle West. It's awesome. 9 out of 10 for this issue and the couple of issues before it. I had previously read issues 1 through 3, and then I just kept like putting it off. Like, oh, the new issue just came out. I picked it up, but I'm not caught up on it, so I'll read it later. So I decided, instead of just skipping everything and reading issue number 16, that I would take the time to get caught up, read issues 4 through 16. It took a few hours. I'm not the best reader. I'm not the fastest reader. But I'm glad that I did that, because just jumping right into issue number 16, I would have missed a whole lot, and spoiled a whole lot. And it's definitely worth reading all of it in order without knowing anything, because it goes in directions that I did not expect at all. And that's been really, really fun. So go read Middle West, by Scotty Young, and art by Jorge Corona. Jorge has been here in Denver to do signings at Hall of Justice Comics a couple of times, and I could have sworn I got a signature from him. Maybe it was for the very first issue, but I don't remember, because I missed the first time they came when they had the preview issues of number 1, and so I do have that issue and it's signed, but I thought I had actually met him later. But that's the only one that I have. I don't know, but it was really cool to meet him. That I told him, like, I really liked the book and all that, because at that point it was only up to like issue number 7 or something, and so I told him I was behind on it, but I really liked it, and it was awesome that he came out to meet everyone and all that. So anyway, Middle West is great. Then we have Over the Ropes. So I caught up. I'd only read the first issue, but reading issue number 2, number 3, and then number 4 here, as it's really nice. Like, it's so like breaks kayfabe, but also while breaking kayfabe and revealing that wrestling is all planned and all that kind of stuff, the characters in here are going into the business for themselves, and they're breaking the broken kayfabe in a way, kind of. So like they're the real life situations and the drama around it and all of that. I'm really enjoying that about this, and like the real life familial rivalries and stuff like that. Check this out. It's really cool. And it sounded like the next issue is the final issue of this story arc. Hopefully they do like a second season or whatever, another 5 issues or whatnot. This particular issue doesn't have a whole lot of wrestling. There's like a couple pages of it. So this is what I was talking about with Justice League, that there are a few comics that I read this week that have a lot of the action in one part of the comic and then like a lot of talking in the other part. And this is one of those. Issue number 2, especially if I remember correctly, there's a lot of talking in the first half of it, but then they get into the wrestling in the second half, and that really picked it up for me. But not to say that the talking and dialogue scenes are bad in this book at all, but personally, I like the wrestling part of the wrestling comics. So it was I like that this one had it kind of sprinkled throughout, even though there's even less wrestling in this one than issue number 2, but it sets things up for the next issue, which I think is going to be like 100% wrestling probably. So yeah, check it out. Over the Ropes. Plunge is awesome. Read it. I give it 9 out of 10. Issue number 2 came out this week. It's like how to describe it? It's like a sea voyage to it's like a salvage mission to a ship that was lost at sea decades ago. And it's this team that goes out to get there, and it's at it's a meteor. It's not a volcanic island crater. It's a meteor crater it's like this ring, and the ship, they figure out that it only started broadcasting because there's a big like tsunami that shifted it and probably put the solar panels into place. And there's all kinds of crazy stuff that's going on, and that they're trying to figure out, and so that they can report back what happens, recover the bodies, recover the research, because there's a research vessel, all that kind of stuff. Just, I'm not doing it justice at all, but like if any of that sounds interesting to you, like the salvage mission, being at sea, a crazy island that you're on, if you're a fan of Lost, basically, check out this book. It's awesome. Even though it's only in issue number 2, I believe it'll be 6 issues total. I am most excited out of all of the Hill House comic books. This one is my favorite so far. Of course, that could change depending on like how all the other ones wrap up in the last couple of issues. Like some of them might have like the coolest ending, and so this one is the furthest away from the ending, but it already is my favorite. So yeah, check it out. The Plunge, or Plunge. There's no just Plunge. Also this week we had the Robin 80th anniversary 100-page special. This book is a really cool compilation of a bunch of different stories about all the different Robins. Of course, you have the Dick Grayson, a couple of stories about him, and then as Nightwing. I think he has 3 stories. Everybody else only has like 1 or 2. Then you have Jason Todd is the second. He was the second Robin, I think. And then Tim Drake. Then Stephanie Brown, who is on the 2000s. I think this is the 2000s cover by Derek Chu, and currently she is now a spoiler. And then she was Batgirl before being. So she was Batgirl very briefly, and then she was then she became Robin for a while. I think that's the order she did it. I'm pretty sure she was Batgirl before she was Robin, or maybe she was Robin first. And then she was the spoiler after that. But yeah, and then Damian, Bruce Wayne's son, is the current Robin, and there's a couple of stories from him. So my favorite story of this, I think, probably was the one where Jason Todd, I think it's called Out of Time or something like that, and it was all about him repairing or trying to repair Bruce Wayne's watch that was his father's, and he gives it to him as a birthday gift. And yeah, I really, really like that story. It was the least actionful story of all of them, but I thought it was the nicest, most heartwarming story of them all. And also having this so soon after the Alfred or R.I.P. Pennyworth issue. Or Pennyworth or R.I.P. I forget what the exact name of that book was, because that one was also a compilation of all these stories from all of the Bat family. So it was kind of a similar kind of thing. So reading both of those within a month is really, really cool. But also maybe a little bit of tear jerk possibilities. I English good. Up next, we have Spider-Woman #1. I got the die cut cover, which is really cool. If you're watching the video, I have it bagged and boarded, so I can't open it. I could actually, you know what? I am going to open it up and. Okay, so we've got the die cut there, so the triangle out in the middle. The back of the book is really cool too, but then inside, so you just have the yellow that you see, but inside of the book, like, it's an extra bonus cover with like this spray paint version with a spray paint stencil look to it. That's really cool. But anyway, oh man, I also gave this 9 out of 10 stars. It's really good. I do want us to keep reading this. It's a little bit wacky, but I think that's totally fine. And you have her. She's the main story of it. Oh my gosh. Because we go back in time. There's 2 stories in this first issue. And the main story, the first one, she has to save a whole boatload of kids, a literal boatload of kids, because she's working security for a rich kid's birthday party, because there's people that are trying to kidnap this kid and stuff. And it's pretty awesome. She uses a really annoying kid, a really jerk of a kid, a kid that's just being an a-hole. She uses this kid as a weapon, and that was pretty great. I think that was my favorite moment of the whole comic. So yeah, check that out. Spider-Woman. It's cool. Then we have, getting closer to the end here, I think like 5 more comics to talk about. We have Star Wars Adventures, issue number 31. Tales from Wild Space is the second part of the book. And I can't remember what happened in that one. But the first half of the book is Rey training with Poe Dameron with how to fly the X-Wing. So I think this probably takes place between Last Jedi and... No, actually, it probably takes place before Last Jedi, because she went off on her own after Last Jedi, I think. I don't remember. but it's definitely before Rise of Skywalker because she's learning how to fly the X-wing. Um, no, it was probably after Last Jedi because she didn't have an X-wing before that. Yeah, yeah. Anyway, Star Wars Adventure. It's fun. It's cool. I like the art style of the Star Wars Adventures more than I do the regular Star Wars books, the Marvel ones that have more like realistic ones. It's nice to personally. It's nice to have that variety of a more cartoony. Middle West also has a more cartoony, but has it's not like clean looking cartoony. It's very kind of wild, lots of very loose. I think that's the word I'm looking for more than wilds. But yeah, I like both. I like all the different styles, having lots of variety. If they all look the same, if all the books from all the companies all that had the same style of characters, then whatever style that is would get old. So I like that lots of different styles exist. Although there's some styles I could do without, but I don't. And generally I don't read those books anyway. Um. Anyhow, Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen, number 9. I have not read number 3 through 8. This is so I just jumped ahead and just read this one. The way one of the things I really like about these Jimmy Olsen books is that it changes format like every couple of pages. Like, oh, it's a brand new story. Like, it introduces each little part of the story as a brand new story, and that's really fun. This specific issue, so this is the main book, Jimmy Gets a Clue. Then we also have the variant with him crashing a wedding. You know what? I forget exactly what happens in the real story of this issue. But I did really like the little Olsens, which is like what was the original name? What was the original name of Peanuts? It was Peanuts, but I think it was like Our Gang or something like that. Or but it was kind of making fun. It was like a parody of that. So that's throughout, and it's and we find out that it's when he's spacing out during like these mediation sessions or whatever. I don't remember exactly, except for that those Peanuts style parts were pretty fun. Yeah, yeah. So I definitely need to go back and read the rest of these to connect the dots of what's going on there. Then we have Usagi Yojimbo, issue number 9. We have Tatami part 2 of 2. So I didn't go back and read like 3 through 8. I only read issue number 8 because that was the first part of this specific story. And it is all about he joins this caravan that is transporting a bunch of tatami mats to the lord, the new lord of that region, and it's very important to get these mats to this person. They're handcrafted, they're pristine, and all that. And many people lose their lives protecting these tatami mats that are presumably only being used for this one occasion. So, but it was really cool. In the previous issue, like the first like 8 maybe not 8 pages, several pages are specifically about how they make these mats, and I really liked that part of the book. But this part was really cool too, with fighting off ninjas and all that to get these mats to their destination safely. So check it out. They're also doing the color classics, which is going back to the beginning and adding color to them, because when they originally came out, they're in black and white. So those have been coming out recently as well, and definitely worth checking out. And then 2 more books. Second to last book, Vampirella number 9. This was the first book that I read from this week, so I don't remember anything at all. But check it out. Vampirella is pretty cool. Um, oh, there's something she got transported somewhere else, and then somebody like asked her if she had something. And was like, "Does it look like I have pockets?" That's all. That's all I remember. That's what I tweeted about. What was she doing? Oh, she came. There was a guy who also could fly and had like these giant wings, but they're like a different type of wings, and he's claiming that he's part of some other alien race that's similar to hers, and that they need to find their home or something like that. And kind of goes from there. I don't want to. I probably already explained it very poorly and inaccurately of what was actually going on. But Vampirella, check it out. And then Hell Arisen. I have not read any of Hell Arisen yet. It's coming out of all of the Batman Who Laughs infected stuff with infected Shazam. You have infected Donna Troy, all that. I think she becomes Deathbringer. I think that's her infected name. And then we have Kara Zor-El, Supergirl. She's infected. That is like my favorite version of Supergirl ever in the Supergirl books. With her doing her thing while being infected. That I just really, really like that. But anyway, it turns out the Batman Who Laughs is I don't know if I. Well, you can see on the cover here, Batman Who Laughs has his knee on Lex Luthor's chest. So it's basically dark multiverse Bruce Wayne versus the real multiverse Lex Luthor. But Lex Luthor has been going around trying to gather as many people as he can, all these villains and all that kind of thing, and to serve this god being, ultimate multiverse controlling thing. I don't know if it's like she seems like she's beyond a god basically, but Perpetua, and it's all this stuff coming together. So issue number 3 has been getting a lot of talk about it because it is the first full appearance of Punchline, who is the Joker's new sidekick. And I don't I understand the excitement over a new character. I don't understand why this, like number 3 of Hell Arisen, it's such a big deal made about it. I still see listings for it for like $60 for an issue of it. I'm not going to sell my copy. I just want to have the complete story. If I sold my copy, I wouldn't have a copy of it anymore. So if I did sell, not to say that I wouldn't ever sell it, but if I did sell it, I would sell it as issues 1 through 4, not just that one issue. But anyway, I get it, but to the people who are valuing it that much, which is everybody, I guess, or whatever, everybody who cares about it. It like, for it to be valued that much because of that character is so dumb. That character appears on like 3 or 4 pages, and she doesn't say anything. She doesn't say anything in those 3 or 4 pages. And one of the pages, she's like in the background, and it's dumb that that issue is being sought after so much when nobody cared about issues 1 and 2 of Hell Arisen at all. And I saw some posts from some comic shops like, hey, if you want to come in and buy issue number 3 of Hell Arisen, you gotta also buy issue number 1 and 2, just to kind of prove that you're not just in this to flip it on eBay and all that kind of stuff, because I can definitely understand why that would be so annoying. Everybody's coming to the comic book shop. Oh, I heard that this book is really valuable. Do you have any copies of it so I can buy it and then make money off of it that you can't make off of it because you're the retailer? You got to sell it the cover price. So I totally get the frustration there from the comic book shops and all of that. And even if that wasn't something they're annoyed about, which I don't know how it wouldn't be, I would be probably annoyed about it also, because it's like, yeah, and then it's like so overhyped. When I got to it, it's like, oh, hey, Hell Arisen #3. This is the book everyone's talking about. And then that issue was like, okay, it wasn't great. Issue #4 is way better, and it's the conclusion of this mini series, this little side story, and then it continues into. Okay, so this leads into what's coming next, which is death metal, and just from the name, that sounds freaking awesome. So, yeah, like the cover, the book that has Punchline, that variant. Now that I could see people being like, "This is awesome," because that cover is amazing. I think it's an Artgerm cover of Punchline. And another thing is that on the main page, I don't have issue #3 with me right here, but on the main page that she appears, and that the most is said about her because she doesn't say anything. What makes it even more annoying and kind of dumb that this book is so valued because of her is that the Joker is like, oh, meet my new friend Punchline. She's the funniest girl I've ever met, or something like that. It's like, okay, that is not like, that's telling, not showing. That's a prime example of that storytelling rule of show, don't tell. Joker saying that she's really funny does not make her really funny. We do not see her being really funny unless that's an ironic statement that and we will find out why he thinks that she's very funny. And it might just be that she's super violent, and that's what makes the Joker think she's really funny. But that's not made clear here, in my opinion. And so either way, it doesn't work. It's just telling. It's not showing us that. And showing could be somebody talking. If you want to show that somebody is well spoken, if you want to show that somebody has a good sense of humor, show us that by having them say things that express that show us that they are those things, instead of somebody else saying like, this gal over here is really funny, watch out. So anyway, that's my whole rant about Punchline and Hell Arisen #3. But I do really like Hell Arisen as a whole, and I am very and also Supergirl leading up to this. It's been great. I have not read Batman/Superman yet, which also as I was reading Supergirl, kept saying, "Oh, see Batman Superman #3 for this, Batman Superman #4 for this." I'm like, I know I'm not reading those yet. I have them. I haven't read them yet. Now I can go back and read them and fill in some of the gaps, I guess. But yeah, as a whole, awesome. #3, it's not. Don't pay. If you just want to read it, don't buy it on eBay. Don't buy a physical copy of it. Get it on Comixology or however you buy your digital comics. If you don't buy digital comics, give it a shot sometime. It's pretty great. Especially for rare issues, extremely sought after, valuable, expensive, rare issue. So dumb. Anyway, don't buy that issue for any more than $4, the cover price. it's not a great issue. It's good, but it's like the only reason to there's no reason to, but there have been a couple of issues that I've bought that are pretty up there. But that was to complete a whole collection that was, published a couple decades ago, mainly Catwoman. But anyway, so that's all of it. Everything is on the floor now. I don't have anything left on my desk to talk about for the new comics this week. This is a really long episode. Hopefully it was somewhat entertaining in some way. Let me know what you thought about all of these books that came out last week and all the other books. Tons and tons of other books that I don't read, that I don't pick up. You can tell I'm heavily into DC. Are there some really great Marvel? Actually, this week it was kind of half and half in a way. It felt like skewed a lot more towards DC because there's a lot more to catch that I caught up on. But anyway, let me know what you thought about everything and what other comics that I should maybe check out. And if you have any, there are tons of independent creators that have been putting a lot of their stuff up for very inexpensive prices or even free in some cases. So if you have a favorite creator, check out their Twitter, their Instagram, and all of that. See what they're putting out there right now, what they're making out available from their back catalog, but also just support them in general, even if they don't have a sale specifically for something really cheap or all of that. If your favorite artists, especially independent artists, have something out there that you haven't read yet, get a digital copy of it. That's a really easy thing to do, and they don't have to ship anything to you or anything like that. So support your favorite artists, your favorite writers, all that, if you can. Take care of what you need for yourself first, and of course. But if you have an extra like $5 and you want it, and you would have normally spent it on like going to a movie, which we can't right now, consider getting a digital comic or even an actual comic directly from the creators that you like. So there you go. That's it for this week. No conventions coming up to talk about. All of them have been getting delayed. Just a few minutes before this podcast, the next one that I had scheduled that hadn't been delayed yet, they pushed that back until August. So I'll probably do that, or I'll just do it for next year. They said you could do either of those options, so we'll see how that works out. But I think the next one that I think has the highest likelihood of happening is I think in June. I think it might be possible that this one will still happen in June, is St. Louis Mighty Con. But I'm not going to talk about specifics of that. Just keep a lookout on demonjackal.com is all of my artwork and comic convention news type updates. So that's it. Anyway, tweet me at TIW Podcast. Go to TIWpodcast.com for more reviews. If you enjoyed this episode or anything else on the site, please share some links with your friends. Subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube, wherever you like to listen. Stay safe, healthy, and happy out there in all the infinite multiverses, especially the dark multiverse. Maybe we're in the dark multiverse now. Keep a lookout for a crazy Batman with a metal visor around his face. Or I guess he doesn't need that in his own multiverse. He needs that when he comes to the other multiverses, so he doesn't go crazy, I guess. From what I understand. But we do in number 4 we see him without it for a second. That's a spoiler. But anyway, see you next time here on TIW Podcast. Bye.